got worse after a public fallout with manager Erik ten Hag. Sancho said he was being made a scapegoat. Ten Hag said there'd been a discipline issue. It all ended up with Sancho going back to Germany. Next, Erik ten Hag probably thought he was being smart in sticking to what he knew when he signed Antony from his former club Ajax. But the £86 million Brazilian hasn't really been able to hack it in the Prem. Chances are Antony's Man United days are numbered. Next, the curse of the Man United number 7 shirt. Not an easy act following Ronaldo, Cantona, Beckham and George Best, but Memphis Depay was another striker who was apparently allergic to scoring for United. He scored just 7 in 53 appearances, a huge letdown since he'd helped PSV win the Dutch league just a season before joining. Last one, Angel Di Maria was set to be United's landmark signing when he joined in 2014, but one season later he was already on his way out. 4 goals in 32 games was just not good enough, given he'd broken the British record transfer fee when he signed. And those are just a few examples. To be honest, the list could go on and on. Unfortunately, that's probably why Man United haven't won the Prem for a while, and why it might take a few more years before they're in contention again.
Good morning. Welcome along to Sunday Edition with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. It may be mid-July, but it's a big day for football, with Chelsea bidding to become the club world champions and England women facing off against Wales for a place in the last 8 of the Euros. There's a massive men's final at Wimbledon today, but yesterday there was an absolute trouncing in the tennis. And there was a ruck in the cricket too. And there's plenty of argy-bargy going on in the transfer market, featuring Morgan Gibbs-White and Victor Gyökeres, which will feature in our transfers chat at 11:30. You can get in touch by texting us on 81089. We're on X at talkSPORT, or you can WhatsApp us on 03717 223344, and you can watch us live on your smart TV and on YouTube. Just head to talksport.com/watch for more details. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Morning, Henry.
Morning, Shaun. You're looking very brown.
Yeah,
about brown as my lawn.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very big lawn. All of your lawn is brown, is it?
Well, unlike your lawn, which is plastic. Actually, I wish it was this time of year.
Part astro, part grass. Henry.
Okay, half and half. Hybrid.
Yes, I had a good day at tennis on Monday.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
Strawberries? Did you get your 5 a day?
Yeah, I got a few strawberries. It was really good. Watch Iga Swiatek cruise through in her match against Paulson of Denmark, and of course that set the tone for her for the rest of the week, because she cruised through, it would be fair to say, in the tennis yesterday.
You love your tennis, don't you?
I do like a couple of days out at Wimbledon if I can get them. I don't go to anything else, just one of those annoying Wimbledon types. What have you been up to, Henry, this week?
Well, it's been a fantastic week. I mean, it was just watching Live Aid last night. It's about the only time I was actually in the house. It was extraordinary.
Oh, that was brilliant.
The 40th anniversary. Who was your favourite?
I've seen the Queen set through once again. However, that's not very sporty.
No,
what have you done sport-wise?
Been to Lord's on Thursday.
Obviously. Posh seats, Henry?
Not particularly,
Henry.
No, it was good. No, it was very good. Lower Tavern, which was good. Which is difficult for a non-drinker, but it was actually it was in the shade, which was nice. And look, watching England play at any sport is always a joy. But to watch Root bat, I mean, it was fantastic. And then, of course, the next day, well, I wasn't there. that catch of his, I mean, it was just a remarkable catch. So just to sit, I mean, we're incredibly privileged with what we do, and when you can actually go to a sporting event and you're not working, you don't have to think about deadlines, things like that, and just appreciate the excellence of sport. So yesterday I went to Newmarket, and it was fairly and very actually, and it was actually, I was thinking of you actually, because there was a 66-1 shot won the July Cup, and 66-1 is quite remarkable. It was called No Half Measures, so I immediately struck me of a night out with you, but just to go and see the horses, the power of the horses, and also the size of the jockeys. I mean, they are. Look, you go to a lot of racing, but to see them close up, they are absolutely tiny. But they've got the sort of the heart of lions to actually go at that pace, and obviously this is on the flat, and then to do it over the jumps.
Did you put any money on?
I didn't actually, no, because
how do you go to racing and not have a bet?
Because I can enjoy the sporting element to it, and also chatting to people, and it was a bit of a chatathon. And then the rest of the week I've just been writing about Club World Cup, Lionesses transfers, and writing a book, and I'll be reviewing footage, and you were there, of fairly lively events on Olympic Way before the Euro 2020 final, which was how that wasn't nipped in the bud earlier, I don't know, but anyway, that's something I'm going to go into in a book. Anyway, papers.
Yes, tennis and cricket featuring pretty heavily, aren't they?
Well, there you go. Well, I mean, obviously I defer to you on all things tennis. I enjoyed...
Well, even you must have cringed slightly at the women's final yesterday. I realise you were out horse racing, but 6-0, 6-0, the focus tends not to be on the winner. It tends actually to be on the vanquished.
Yeah, I mean, Gone in 57 Minutes is the front page of the Sunday Telegraph sports section, and it was, I mean, what can you say? I mean, it doesn't really help the sport. Obviously, Amanda Anisimova was very emotional afterwards, after her defeat. So yeah, it was brutal, but can I be positive? And I thought it was a good decision by Wimbledon to put the men's doubles on beforehand, just to sort of get that. And they were rewarded with an all-British history-making, and I know you're big on history-making, doubles champions. First time in it, well, before you have your rant about why history is bunk, first time in 89 years, all-British men, so congratulations to Julian Cash and Lloyd Glassball. And, I mean, what a summer they've had. One Queen's, one Eastbourne, now one Wimbledon. So why do you have an issue on the history-making front?
Because everything's history. You're saying it's the first time since 1911, so if it had been the first time since 20 years ago, history making, everybody's making history. Anything's history. It just doesn't make sense. I watched 3 things on BBC yesterday, and all going, they've made history, they made history, they made history. It's all history.
So if they said they've just updated the history books...
Yes, that's fine.
You'd be happy
That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
I just think it's a load of nonsense.
I love these lessons in academia from you, Shaun. But look, congratulations to Julian Cash and Lloyd Glassball.
And it's a big final today, of course.
It is a huge final
today. Alcaraz, that one, Henry.
Yeah, who are you? I mean, I bow to you on all things tennis. Who do you... You quite like Sinner, don't you?
No, I think most people want Alcaraz to win.
And why do they want him to win?
Because of the slight cloud over Sinner. Actually, there's one over Swiatek as well, who won yesterday, because they both had drugs bans. And I think the purist would like Alcaraz to win today because of that. He
also comes over very well. He's
great entertainment.
He's great entertainment. He's good to watch, and from a media perspective, he interviews very well.
He does.
So, on a very serious note, Dom King's piece in the Mail on Sunday. Dom obviously now is covering the sport of Kings appropriately. Is their racing correspondent, but he obviously very embedded in Liverpool, was their Merseyside correspondent for a long time at the Mail, and he's written a piece reflecting on Liverpool's game, very emotional game this afternoon at Deepdale. Obviously, this is the first chance for the fans actually inside a stadium. We've seen the amazing shrine to Diogo Jota outside Anfield. But inside the stadium, I'm sure there'll be some fans will have turned up outside as well. So there'll be a minute's silence Preston obviously playing full part in this in terms of involved in the tributes. Both teams wearing black armbands. So I'm just sort of praising Dom's piece here. Preston, presumably the captain, will lay a wreath in front of the away end, and they'll play You'll Never Walk Alone before the game. And I mean, nothing can really provide sufficient comfort to a grieving family at times like this. You know, his widow, we saw laying a tribute outside Anfield, floor tribute outside Anfield, and those three beautiful kids as well, the grieving parents. I mean, it's just horrendous. But at times like this, football and Liverpool as a club have been through such traumatic times that they will sort of embrace the family. It's the sort of the footballing family embracing the Jota's family. So yeah, it's going to be a very emotional occasion.
Yeah, hugely emotional. Just move on to a bit of cricket, which features very heavily as well, because at last there's a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of ruck. It's been a bit too nicey-nicey, India v England, hasn't it?
It's a really good point, that, because I was talking to some of my mates who know far more about cricket than I do, and they were saying, well, we're really enjoying this series, and they were actually sort of highlighting the sort of sportsmanship, and I don't know whether it's an IPL thing, they get to know each other sort of better, play for sort of teams out there, but when they were sort of walking off the field, you know, there was a lot of sort of chat. This was on Thursday, and there was a lot of obviously respect. Fast forward 48 hours, we have boiling point on the Sunday Times, and the same headline Mail on Sunday too, with Shubman Gill pointing the finger at Crawley. And look, a lot of people are saying, particularly from an English perspective, that it's a case of the bite a bit. So time wasting by England, 2 overs to go. They basically spun it out to, it's the equivalent of taking the ball down to the corner flag, is sort of walking away when the bowler Bumrah was trying to bowl. And I thought he had every right to be annoyed. England have every right to sort of point out that Shubman Gill went down injured when he was fielding and needed the physio on, so there was a bit of time wasting there.
Are you implying that ball didn't actually hit Crawley's finger, or he wasn't really hurt? Is that what?
No, I think there was an element, but calling the physio on. Look, it was quite clear what they had to do. And Shubman Gill, who I think is a huge credit to the game, I think he's a good young captain for India. I mean, his batting has just been a joy to watch in this series so far. I think, particularly in the first 2 tests, I just think that, you know, and then he swore Sky Sports had to apologise. Grown men using grown-up language, and how naughty. One thing that you understand, multi-sports far better than me, but why wouldn't the umpires step in earlier, actually to Crawley and say, come on, get on with it?
You move away when the bowler's coming in, claiming there's somebody moving behind their bowlers on. But if they step in to have a word, that takes up more time as well. It was just funny, and sport, cricket particularly, has become very nicey, I think, recently, which is, you know, all
so
fine.
You like everybody's very good,
don't you? It's good copy as well, and it's good fun.
Do you like it as a sort of journalist because it provides you with a back page, or do you think it's
entertainment? I think this series has been excellent, but spicing it up a bit is not bad. And if that had been England-Australia, would all have gone, whoa, get in, it's properly going off.
Can I make one suggestion, which you will absolutely hate because you like everything ending in rucks? Why don't the ICC insist on the 90 overs being played?
The ball thing.
So sorry, I went on Thursday. So apparently they're 31 overs short over these 3 days. So that's 10 overs a day where they were short. Is the public being shortchanged? I mean, it sounded like the public were quite enjoying the needle in the final over. But why don't they play? I mean, there was no issue with the light on Thursday. I said, why aren't they playing till 7? And they stopped bang on 6:30. I think they're about 7 overs short that England could have sort of carried on. And then, of course, we had Joe Root on 99 as well, just to sort of add to it without the flake. So it was a bit of needle and spiced up a few back pages.
Henry Winter there on cricket, but we've got an expert coming up, thankfully, just after the break. That is Alex Tudor. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT.
He plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
It is day 4 of the third test between England and India. Nicely poised. England leading by 2 runs with 10 wickets remaining. And as me and Henry were referring to before the break, bit of a ruck at the end when England played out time, so they only had to face 1 over instead of 2 at the end of the day. Delighted to say former England star Alex Tudor is with us. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Shaun. Good morning, Henry. How are we?
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Great to have you here, Alex. What did you make of the ruck at the end? We enjoyed it, did you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. There's a little bit of spice to it. I mean, to be fair, listen, 6 minutes to bowl the last over. Listen, players were always going to try and delay tactics, but I suppose the way it happened, when the bowler's at the end of his mark, the batter has to be ready. So, seeing Zach pull away 4 times, and then when he got a wrap on his gloves, he decided, bring the physio on, and then, everything kicked off. Shubman Gill, the captain, he was unhappy. Siraj, who's not too shy of saying his piece, he came in, and it was funny just seeing little Duckett getting in between. You've got someone who's 6'6", and Shubman Gill's quite tall as well, and then you see little Duckett in there telling him to just calm it down. You've applied the same sort of tactics. Let's just get on with it. I mean, listen, for me, it's like with everything, the punter gets shortchanged a little bit because, what is it, day 2, 15 overs were left out there. The first day, only 83 overs were bowled. I just think, listen, 90 overs should be bowled. That's what the day should be consisting of. And I just sort of get a little bit upset when the overs are not bowled because, players are not getting round or too many drink breaks and stuff like that. I just think, listen, it's 90 days in a game, especially when you've got lovely weather as we have. I just don't understand why they just can't go on.
Henry was making the point earlier, Alex, about that. Do you know actually why you can't go on till 7 o'clock or 7:30 to get the allotted overs in? What's the reason?
I don't actually know. I listen, I know they're sort of worried about, I don't know, sort of how much the players are doing, but when they're not bowling their allotted overs in their time slot, you've got 3, your 2-hour sessions. Normally the last session is slightly longer, but normally it's like 6:30, and then they, sort of complain about the light. We don't have that issue at the moment. The weather's beautiful, don't get dark till 10. And I just think, listen, an extra half an hour for the punters to get their full 90 overs is what should happen. The last day, you have to bowl 90 regardless. I just don't see why that can't be a thing for all 5 days. I just think, players sort of get their move on. You watch tomorrow, you'll see guys getting around their overs because they don't want to be, in the field past 6:30. I just don't see why it can't be done from day 1 to day 5.
Alex, hi, it's Henry here. I'm glad to hear it's going so well for your coaching at Kim Bolton. I live about sort of 20 miles away, and I noticed you hosted that PCA Legends fundraiser the other day with sort of Ram Prakash and everyone. And I obviously follow you on social media, and I noticed that. I was there on Thursday, saw Joe Root, magnificent player, and you tweeted Root. I'm just quoting you here. I hope there's no copyright infringement, but I'll pay up for it.
That's all right, Henry.
Thank you. Root truly is the greatest player England have ever kept up, produced in my time. # different gravy, which I'm always keen to see different gravy trending on social media. I hope kids really watch how he goes about his work. From your technical eye, what should kids be looking at with Joe Root?
Listen, in this modern age of where, the players play very aggressively and they're playing all shots. I mean, the game of cricket hasn't changed too much. The only thing that's changed is that the players now have no fear. And, gone are the days when you were watching Curtly Ambrose, Courtney Walsh, Wazim Akram, Waqar Younis, and all these greats, Alan Donald, seeing people ramp them and hitting them over the keeper. These players now have that skill set. But what Joe Root does, he plays 360, but what I love is he has the sound defence. A little bit like Shubman Gill. The reason why he's had a fantastic series so far is that the basics of, can you present the full face of the bat? Can you play underneath your eyes so you're not playing out in front of you, which unfortunately Zach Crawley has that issue at the minute where he's playing away from his bod and he seems to be going at the ball because he wants to fill bat and ball. Joe can play in all different sort of styles, and I just think the way he goes about it, when you watch the amount of balls that he's faced to the runs he's scored, he's not slow. He's striking at 80 in most of his innings. When he scores his 100s, he might have got 100 off maybe 130, 120 balls. Well, that's very quick. He's good against spin. He's got the sweep. He's got the reverse sweep. He's good against the fast bowlers. He just has a sound technique, which I think all young players, when you watch him, and Joe, I've been lucky enough to have chats with him and stuff, and he's an absolute badger of cricket. He knows his history. He knows all the great players that went before him, and he's always tweaking his game and how can he improve. He's never settled or happy with, he's going to be England's leading run scorer of all time. He's already got the most centuries, and I just think, listen, he's going to get to the half century for sure, as long as his body stays fit. But the way he goes about the way he accumulates his runs is, for me, the best I have seen in my generation for sure.
You've set many sort of slip fields in your time. How does he rank amongst slip fielders? Because that catch yesterday, 2 days ago, was remarkable.
Yeah, I know he scored a record, but he's also, I suppose, dropped a few. But he's very consistent, And then as a fast bowler, when you get that nick, you want to look in your slip board and know that when the batters, get that edge, that your fielders and your keeper are going to catch the ball. There's nothing more frustrating, especially when you're playing on wickets that you have to work hard. When you actually get that edge, are they going to catch it? And more often than not, that's what Root does. That left-hand dive to his left to the wicket-keeper's right was one of those ones where it sticks. It could have gone down. It didn't. Fantastic. He just gone past Raul Dravid with 200-plus slip catches. Is phenomenal because the concentration, you've got to concentrate every ball. He can't relax. He's not out in the outfield or anything like that. He's in a slips. You have to concentrate for every ball, and the powers of concentration is unbelievable.
Now, obviously, Alex, you know a little bit about bowling. How good was it to see Jofra Archer back? And did you fear that perhaps we'd never see him again in Test cricket?
Yeah, I have to say, Shaun, it was a little bit of a worry. I've never actually met him. I follow him on social media. I always, when he's had his injuries, I send him a direct message and just say, look, thinking of him. I'm a massive Archer fan. I just love with the ease that he runs up a ball. It does frustrate me that I had to really bend my back to try and get the ball at 85 mile an hour. And he sort of just saunters in. He's very athletic. And at the crease, he has that sort of brace front leg, hits through the ball and a very quick arm action, which allows him to bowl at 90 plus. And it's beautiful to see all the hard work. And in this modern age where you sort of fear that everyone's going towards franchise cricket and limited overs cricket, that he still harbours that hunger to play Test cricket. Because for me, that's the pinnacle. That's what all players should look at. That's your currency. If you're a good Test player, the rest will follow and the money will come. You don't need to worry about that. As long as you're fit and healthy, don't worry about the finances. Worry about, making a difference, coming into that team and really stamping some authority. So it was lovely to see him third ball, getting his wicket. I think the 73rd over, everyone's worried about looking at the paces that he's bowling. That does annoy me a little bit because I do say a lot where the pressure of the fast bowler now, where you're sort of bowling against the gun, because, we all do it. And, I do it for talkSPORT and lucky enough for Sky where you commentate. And as soon as a fast bowler's on, you're like, let's watch his speeds. Let's see what he's bowling at. But generally, know if you're hitting the gloves hard from the keeper. And you shouldn't worry about how quick you're bowling because on any given day, the conditions might not need you to bowl at 90 mile an hour. It might just need you to bowl at 83, but you're still making the ball talk. So it does frustrate me sometimes when commentators go strictly to, let's say his speed, but he bowled at 93 miles an hour in the 73rd over. So it shows that he's fit and healthy, and they're going to need him second innings, because for me now it's left to a one innings game, and it's going to be a great day after last night. India are going to be fired up. Bumrah, you don't really need to annoy him for me, the best bowler in world cricket in all formats. He's going to be coming hard at the lads as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how they play, because England don't play for draws. So, are they going to play aggressive? Are they going to go out there? Can India bowl them out? I would say with their bowling attack, they can. And then we'll just see what type of a day we will see. But I think we'll see a great one.
Just finally, Alex, it's really hard to pick the winner of this series, isn't it? I mean, it really, really finely balanced. And we've had a proper, really good test series, which looks like it plays out over 5 days. Real good old-fashioned test cricket, if you like.
Yeah, it has. It's been great. I mean, I think the first innings, the wicket was quite slow, so it wasn't conducive to the sort of 300, 400 in a day. It was sort of old school, 230, 40 for 4 wickets. It was proper old school cricket. But that's my thing, you've got to be able to adapt. It is test cricket. It does test you daily. The bowlers are allowed to bowl well, and you have to see them off. I'm always in the guise of, you've got to allow the if the bowlers are bowling well, can you keep out their best ball? Get them tired, make them bowl their third and full spells, and that's when you make hay as a batter, and that's when you start to score. But at the moment, everyone wants to, when the bowlers are fresh and the ball is new, the batters are, wanting to hit the boundaries all the time. You can't do that all the time in Test cricket. There's different ways of skinning a cat, and that's why the best, like Joe Root, like Kane Williamson, like Steve Smith, and before, Virat Kohli retired, that's what that great four did. They were able to adapt to any situation, and that's why they scored the weight of runs that they have, and that's why they've got the legacy that they will have when they leave this great game.
Brilliant, Alex. Thank you very much. That's Alex Tudor, former England cricket star. Still very passionate about his cricket, Henry.
Absolutely fantastic. I think he's a QPR fan as well.
How did you manage to bring football into that?
Because everything leads back to football. No, I was just thinking. I think he was asked his favourite QPR memory, and you probably remember the game was when QPR won, I think 4-1 at Old Trafford. But look, really interesting character and a lot of good insight on Joe Root, on Jofra Archer. So it was a good idea of yours to have him on, even though someone that's self-proclaimed is not a fan of history, gets the Tudors on.
Yes, indeed. Yes, you've been trying to get that one in since the start. Thanks very much to Alex Tudor, the QPR fan. Next up on Sunday Edition, we're talking Club World Cup. Can Chelsea win it?
To finish the summer on top of the world. There's an opportunity for Gonzalo Ramos, who turns and wraps it in to make it 4-0 to Paris Saint-Germain.
Kind of further confirmation that PSG are the most impressive team in the world at the moment.
But I'm really fascinated to see where Chelsea are at. Wide towards João Pedro, left-hand side of the penalty area. He's shown the inside, he takes the route, and he hammers the ball home in majestic fashion.
This is the Club World Cup. Best club in the world, they are here.
The argument will be made if they were to win this tournament, which I don't think they will do if they get PSG, is that they're the best team in the world. It's a silly argument because they're not the best team in the world. They've won the inaugural tournament and the draw's been incredibly favourable.
We're a keeper away. I still think we're a keeper away from being a side that can do something.
Enzo Maresca and his men will know they've got their work cut out. Full time, Paris Saint-Germain 4, Real Madrid 0.
Yeah, it is PSG versus Chelsea tonight in the Club World Cup final, which is live on talkSPORT, 8 o'clock. A fairly formidable task facing Chelsea if you watch how PSG destroyed Real Madrid the other night. And talkSPORT caught up with Blues boss Enzo Maresca ahead of his side's clash with the dominant PSG, and he shared his thoughts on facing such a formidable opponent.
No, I just said I agree with most of the people that they say that they are the best team in Europe, the best team in the world. And the reason why is because they are showing this. They show in France, they show in the Champions League, they are showing this competition. We have maximum respect for them. I said in my last press conference that I really enjoy watching them. But at the same time, we're going to try. We are here to try to do our best and to win the final.
Watching PSG destroy Real Madrid in midweek, Henry. First of all, PSG didn't look particularly tired. They seemed full of running to me, and they've just carried on from the Champions League final into this competition, and I mean, they look like they'll be unbeatable for the next 10 years to me.
Yeah, I know you like giving Trent a good kicking, but he wasn't playing in that, so maybe...
I didn't get... Again, why do you bring that up?
Because you're always giving Trent
he wasn't on the pitch.
Exactly. So that was the
reason they got hammered.
No. Look, I mean, PSG are fantastic. I mean, look, in fairness to Maresca, Chelsea have grown into this tournament. I mean, João Pedro obviously is looking like a smart signing. Be interesting to see what it means for Liam Delap, because if João Pedro is going to play as centre forward, then Delap's not going to play there. I know Pedro. In fact, in the previous game, he drifted to the left a bit. He drifted back as a 10, but then he runs into Enzo and Cole Palmer. Also, what it means for Nicholas Jackson, I don't necessarily see he has much of a
£100 million Nicholas Jackson. I read this week. That's what Chelsea value him at.
Do they?
Apparently so.
Right.
Seemed a lot, didn't it?
Possibly if he learns the offside trap and is a little bit more decisive in his final pass, as Cole Palmer might have suggested in the last game. But look, Chalobah's played well. Caicedo obviously was missing for a game. I think he's one of the best midfielders in the world. But Jason Cundy is right. They are a goalkeeper away. And this commitment to Robert Sanchez, I do find strange. But I think the defence has been good in front of him. But I think that they still need a keeper. But absolutely, they've developed as the tournament has gone on. But you just look at PSG, and your point is very legitimate about the fact that they haven't looked hard. I mean, obviously they've used the substitutions well, but they've been fairly dominant. But you look at the age range, and I know we can sort of debate about the sort of money and state-owned clubs, but actually they've recruited well. I know they've got the money and wages and all that, but they have spent it well. And you look at some of the players that they've developed and they've brought in. So like Zaire, 19, Doué is 20. I think he was 40 million when he came in. João Neves is only 20. And you look at him, and when he gets interviewed, I mean, he sounds like a sort of 28-year-old who's just sort of so calm, so composed. And then you look at, the others. I mean, Barcolos is 22. I made a list of them because I just think this is the perfect balance of a team. And then you look at Nuno Mendes and William Pacho, 23, Kvaratskhelia and Ramos, obviously a substitute, 24, Vitinha, 25, Hakimi, who's probably the best right back in the world at the moment, 26, Donnarumma, 26, looks a bit older, but you think what he's done in the game. He's 26. I had to check that. I thought it might be. Well, look, please go and check again. But I just thought that was remarkable. He's obviously already won the Euros, as we know. Yeah, and then Dembele, who's won a World Cup. He's 28. Fabian Ruiz. I mean, what a player he is. 29, absolutely. And Marquinhos, 31. So look, they are. It's a team. Everyone says, "Oh, it's going to be a dynasty. It's going to dominate for the next 5 years." People say that, but it is difficult to do that. But certainly, they've got the sort of balance of the team right in terms of the ages, the fitness, as you say. Tactically, they have total belief in what Luis Enrique's asking them to do. When you see sort of Hakimi on the right and the opposition comes towards him, they then switch it just so quickly. This is one of their moves to Kvaratskhelia on the left. And they're a joy to watch. I mean, I know you're not a huge fan of. I mean, you hate sort of possession football, and I think this is a counterpoint to that. Is that there is an element of possession football, but wow, they get it forward quickly. And then when you see someone like Nuno Mendes or Hakimi, almost like a centre forward at times. I mean, there's an element of total football to it.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant to watch. This is going to tweak your buttons, Henry. The Club World Cup is as a tournament.
Well, I can say that we generated over 2 billion, almost 2.1 billion revenues with this competition for 63 matches. That makes an average of $33 million per match. There is no other club competition in the world today that comes anywhere close to a value of $33 million per match. So it is already the most successful club competition in the world from all different measurements.
There you are, Henry.
Ridiculous thing to say. Absolutely ridiculous thing to say.
The premier tournament.
The most successful club competition in the world. And who is going to win it? Probably PSG, the European champions. I mean, look, we all want to see football spread and developed around the world, and that is his philosophical argument behind the Club World Cup, when actually we know it's all about money. And it's interesting, he was talking about money there. We have to be mindful of player welfare. We have to sort of protect the World Cup, and we don't want players going into next summer sort of exhausted by this. But actually what all this is highlighted, okay, look, there have been some Al Hilal into Miami, so slightly surprising for Menenzi. The support for the sort of the Latin American teams has been sensational. Their fans have been superb.
We knew that would happen.
We knew that would happen. That. So nothing has really surprised us.
And the average attendances, I saw yesterday, 38,500. Not bad going. Attendances were getting criticised at the start when they played on a Monday afternoon, but pretty much into the knockout stages. They've been pretty full stadiums.
Well, no, not completely, but anyway, look, that's sort of nitpicking. But look, I hope that FIFA, rather than just sitting there and counting the money and taking pot shots at the Champions League, actually look at what they can learn in time for the World Cup in a year's time, i.e. kick-off times, i.e. the heat, it'd be interesting because Thomas Tuchel's been out there. It'd be interesting to see where England base themselves, where they go for Kansas City and slightly cooler. You don't want to be down in Miami, which is where England were. We were there before 2014 with sort of hurricanes and the heat. They have to look at that. They have to look at the cost for fans in terms of travel, crazy. If you rent a car and then go and try to park your car at a World Cup stadium, it's been sort of $60-70. So yeah, all those things they've got to learn from. But one thing we haven't learned is the primary nature of the European clubs, PSG and Chelsea in the final.
But you can't do anything about heat. It's there. I accept you can change some of the kickoff times, but you can't change all of them. You have to have some games being played in the afternoon.
FIFA have to have a debate with the European broadcasters. But I think the European broadcasters will probably win because everything will come down to money, and we will have those games at difficult times.
And we knew this was coming.
We knew this was coming
when they got it. So this is not a surprise. What's happened in the Club World Cup, and you've ended up with the team that won the Champions League and the team that won the Conference League in the final, because you couldn't get the Europa League winners there. So in some ways, it's a vindication that these are the best teams are in the final, in a way.
Yeah, but sort of the point that Infantino was making is that they're fantastic teams around the world. We know they're fantastic teams in Europe because obviously they've got the wealth, and this will actually enhance their wealth even more. Look, I think it's great that we have this sort of competition. I just think it's too big. I just think it's just too long. There's too many games being played, Shaun.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick prediction, PSG-Chelsea, we expect a comfortable PSG win?
3-1.
Yeah, I'm going for 2-0, but good luck to Chelsea. See if you can upset the odds. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Blast from the past next, and a famous transfer which happened 10 years ago. This is Sunday Edition, and before we get into Blast from the Past, 21 minutes to go is a brand new weekly podcast from Goldstein and Cundy, and it's out now. Each week, the former late-night superstar duo will offer a flavour of the good old days in a no-holds-barred, adults-only show that lasts exactly 21 minutes, and not a second more. Here's a taster of what to expect from the first episode, where Cundy explains how he and his siblings got their names.
But I was named after Jason King, the detective.
Right, OK. So your brother's Dave?
Dave.
Who's he named after? David King.
King David.
Right.
Is that King David?
And what's your sister called?
Victoria. Queen Victoria. Her name's Victoria.
They were named after royalty and you were named
and
after
I was just
TV
named after
fictional detective.
Who was called King.
Oh, yes, we've been listening to that. 21 minutes to go. The new weekly podcast with Goldstein and Cundy, available now wherever you get your podcasts, with new episodes dropping every Monday. Now, it's time for this.
It's one small step for man.
That is very good.
I took up the world!
Blast from the past with Henry Winter and Shaun Custis.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over.
On talkSPORT.
It is now. I love football, Stan, I love it!
It's a regular feature, Blast from the Past, where we go back in time to see what was going on back in the day. And today, we're going back 10 years.
Well, Raheem, welcome to Manchester City. The deal has finally been completed. How do you feel?
It's a good feeling, a really happy time for me and my family. I'm just glad it's over and done with, and I just can't really wait to get on the training field.
Sterling takes over, onto his right foot and cutting in, firing into the far corner, and then it's on to Raheem Sterling, who's in behind the defence. He takes on the defender, completes his hat-trick. Brilliant.
Yeah, 10 years ago today, Raheem Sterling moved from Liverpool to Manchester City. A fairly controversial move in that Raheem wanted to leave Liverpool. They would have quite liked to have kept him, but he decided it was time to move on. City moved in. Back page of the Mirror calls him the £100 million man, even though the transfer fee was 50 million, but his deal in wages was 50 million too. Telegraph, City makes Sterling the £100 million man. Son, half price Sterling, because that was because Manuel Pellegrini had said earlier that he thought it would cost 100 million in a transfer fee to get Sterling. So perhaps they got themselves a bargain there. Now, we've followed Raheem's career fairly closely over the years, Henry. We've spoken to him. We've watched him progress into what was a very, very good footballer. Perhaps not quite world class, but very, very good. And just now, while he was right at his peak then, it feels like he's struggling to find a home nowadays.
What now? Yeah, absolutely, and it is sad, and because we know what a talent he has been, not simply for clubs. I mean, you look. I mean, he went to Manchester City, 362 games. He had there 131 goals,
Brilliant.
Which I know he played as a 10 at times, but that's not bad for essentially a wide player, and also for England. I mean, there were a couple of tournaments where he sort of. I think there was one particular tournament where he almost carried England through the group stage, not carried, but I mean he was such an influential figure. So yeah, and England, when the couple of times or a few times they played sort of 4-3-3 under Southgate, and he was one side of Kane and Rashford was the other. I think Seville was a case in point, and England was sort of were outstanding. So yeah, we have to remember he seems to attract a fair bit of criticism. I think it's partly because the way he moves between clubs, and particularly this, as you rightly highlighted, this move was so controversial. And actually, just to finish on that, is just when he says in that clip, "I'm glad it's over and done with," because it was Aidy Ward, his agent, who was sort of upset both parties, Liverpool and City, by the end of that negotiation. So
Aidy was quoted as saying that Raheem wouldn't sign for £900,000 a week at Liverpool, which struck me as a little over the top, as comments go. Why do you think Raheem actually wanted to leave Liverpool? Or was it that he wanted to join Man City rather than leave Liverpool?
I think there was an element of both. The power of Manchester City, sort of financially and footballing wise at the time, the opportunity to work with Pep. I mean, I think, we were out at the Euros when wasn't the move threatening to go through. When did the move
2015?
It was 2015.
About 10 years, Henry, not 9.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the support that he was going to get at City But Liverpool had lost one or two players around that period. I think Xabi Alonso had left, one or two others had left as well. And they're not. It's not like leaving Liverpool now, where they're obviously flying, or under Klopp. So yeah, it was. Players mainly move for money, but maybe it was sort of opportunity.
Yeah, but you can't deny that he had a phenomenal success at Man City.
Oh,
he was
absolutely.
instrumental in their success, and you were highlighting what he did for England there as well. Didn't he go through a terrible period where he only scored like one goal in 47 games or something, and then hit a real rich streak where he couldn't miss? And we keep wanting that Raheem back, but perhaps players, I've said this before, only have 10 years at the top, and Raheem was virtually at the top when he was 16 almost.
Absolutely.
And can you keep it going for that long?
He's never really had a brutal injury. I mean, they're echoes of Michael Owen in terms of going to the top very early, and Michael played tournament after tournament, summer tournament after tournament from a young age, and obviously sort of France 98 at 18. But Michael had his injuries, the hamstrings. I mean, it was awful. And then obviously, when he went to Newcastle, and he had, was it the Achilles at the World Cup? So Raheem's, I mean, my memory may be letting me down here, but I don't remember him having a sort of a brutal injury that you thought, oh, that's going to sort of drag him down later on in his career. I mean, maybe it's just sort of weight of matches, or maybe it's sort of position. Maybe it's, you always get the impression, or I've always had the impression with Raheem, that he needs to feel loved to really deliver. And look, there's a spiky, competitive, I'll show you side to him, but I also think if you've got a manager who gives him the love, gives him the tactical position. But look, it hasn't worked out on loan at Arsenal. So what happens now?
Well, I mean, since his QPR days, and I know how much you love QPR, he's only played at the top.
Yeah.
Now you feel his best hope is probably a mid-table Premier League club. What do you think might suit him?
Well, he'll have to drop the wages for a start, but I think for him it's all about what age is he? 30, 31? Yeah, I mean, it's all about playing. But you just, I mean, as you say, we've sort of talked to Raheem down the years. I went up to his house in Manchester when he was particularly in the crosshairs of the media, and he's actually, it's quite, we put all these issues around Raheem Sterling, the whole too much too young, the sort of the bling thing that got thrown at him. But at its heart is a guy who just loves playing football. Yeah. And it was actually quite a straightforward house. There was a lot of focus on, he's got this big garage for all his cars. He'd actually converted the garage into a gym, a home gym. And then he had a sort of goal. You'd have loved it, actually, because I think there was a little bit of Astro in there. He had a sort of goal in the... And he had mannequins up so he could practice his free kicks. So, yeah, I just hope he refines his love for the game. He's obviously got a great family, he's obviously wealthy, doesn't need to work again, but I do think he needs to play or try and play at the elite level again.
But say a winger like him, and a fantastic winger in his day, who's maybe lost just a little bit of pace, can you reinvent yourself? I don't know, as a fullback? Or
I mean, that's a good point. John Barnes did. I mean, John Barnes obviously was an absolute flyer but obviously a flyer as a winger. Then he had that Achilles against, I think it was Finland, playing for England, and then he went into central midfield and he dictated the game because of the wand of a left foot he's got. Whether Raheem plays as a 10, I don't know, because the game's about physicality and about pace, but it's also about intelligence, and and he's got that. So yeah, I wish him well with his the next stage.
Just moving on from that, the Daily Telegraph from 10 years ago, Schweinsteiger bids Bayern farewell and heads to United. I remember us appearing on a different show 10 years ago where I said Schweinsteiger looked like the sort of player who's just going through the motions playing in a testimonial. You look at me like I had three heads. How dare you disrespect somebody like Schweinsteiger? Frankly,
that was disrespectful.
He was a disaster.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
He was a disaster. He was terrible. He was terrible. And I think it was symptomatic of the way Man United was starting to go, in the sense that they thought, let's get a really good player, put him in, but obviously he's not as good as he is now. Maybe that can help us bring ourselves back again. It didn't. That sort of philosophy didn't work.
Yeah, no, it didn't. But on Schweinsteiger, no, the reason why I looked at you as if you had three heads is that I thought that each one of them was wrong-headed. I just thought
you were terrible.
No, but you were being disrespectful to someone who...
He was a great player in his day, but he'd gone. it was obvious when he turned up at Man United. He was finished.
I don't think he was good. No, I thought he had 1 or 2 good games, but
He only
obviously
played
not
18
enough.
league games.
Is that right? Yeah, well, he got injured. He got injured.
Yeah,
So look, no, I take your point, but I think you should. I know you're not interested in history, but I think if someone's had a sort of a decent career, you should show a little bit more respect from that, rather than sort of spouting off on programs and just sort of consigning someone to history. I thought he showed. He wasn't. Look, he had that injury. He could have done more, but I agree with you in terms of the culture of the time at Manchester United, and honestly, they're still recovering from that. I mean, look at what Ruben Amorim is trying to do now. He's got a squad which was basically formed of 5 other managers. We can sort of stretch it back a bit. So yeah, it didn't really work out with Schweinsteiger, but he's the type of player that. Be nice if England could develop a player like that.
They get caught in that problem though, Man United, didn't they? Where thinking that a great old player. We've seen it a bit with Casemiro to a lesser extent. That they can recreate the glory days for United and pull United up. Obviously, they've got great experience. And it did work a little bit with Henrik Larsson, for instance.
Yeah.
But they need to get back to developing their own players or picking out the gems who are good in the dressing room, if you like, who want to help the team, who aren't just self-interest. They need to develop a core like that, and they haven't.
Do you think Ruben Amorim actually is obsessed with the Manchester United Academy and the Manchester United history? And they don't like history, but Manchester United history of going back to the mid-30s of always having a homegrown academy product in the squad. I'm not sure he is. When you look at some of the people some of the players that he's easing out for right reasons or wrong. I think it's sad because that was one of the great things about Manchester United, and now they're some of the title winners in Italy.
As we've seen, United just isn't the same club these days, is it? And it may take some time to get back to being one.
But on that, and you will know this as a sports editor, Manchester United, it's still the biggest.
Amazing. Well, they once won however many years, 20 odd, without winning a title. They were still a big club, the biggest club. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Next, we're discussing the plight of one of our famous old football clubs.
For every good signing a club makes, there's bound to be a few that don't work out. And Man United have certainly had their fair share of those, especially since the end of their golden age under Sir Alex Ferguson. Here are just some of the Red Devils' worst signings since Fergie. First up, Alexis Sanchez. Sanchez joined United from Arsenal back in 2018 and became the highest paid player in the Prem. He'd averaged almost 1 goal every 2 games for the Gunners, but in his 45 games for Man United, he only managed 5 goals. Not what you want from a star striker. Next up, Radamel Falcao. He earned himself the nickname the Tiger for his sheer efficiency and the way he used to pounce upon the mistakes of defenders. But at Man United, he was way more pussycat than Tiger, to be honest. All he managed in 29 Man United games was 4 goals. Moving on, things couldn't have gone much worse for Jadon Sancho at Man United. Yeah, it would have been hard to outdo his Borussia Dortmund form, but 12 goals in 83 games is not great. Things got worse after a public fallout with manager Erik ten Hag. Sancho said he was being made a scapegoat. Ten Hag said there'd been a discipline issue. It all ended up with Sancho going back to Germany. Next, Erik ten Hag probably thought he was being smart in sticking to what he knew when he signed Antony from his former club Ajax. But the £86 million Brazilian hasn't really been able to hack it in the Prem. Chances are Antony's Man United days are numbered. Next, the curse of the Man United number 7 shirt. Not an easy act following Ronaldo, Cantona, Beckham and George Best, but Memphis Depay was another striker who was apparently allergic to scoring for United. He scored just 7 in 53 appearances, a huge letdown since he'd helped PSV win the Dutch league just a season before joining. Last one, Angel Di Maria was set to be United's landmark signing when he joined in 2014, but one season later he was already on his way out. 4 goals in 32 games was just not good enough, given he'd broken the British record transfer fee when he signed. And those are just a few examples. To be honest, the list could go on and on. Unfortunately, that's probably why Man United haven't won the Prem for a while, and why it might take a few more years before they're in contention again.
Sunday edition will be getting on to the plight of Morecambe fans in just a second, but text and emails coming in. Chris the Blues a bit upset with us. Cheers for completely writing Chelsea off, boys. Sounds like there's no point turning up. And seemingly not giving support to the English side representing us, which I'm certain would be different had it been other sides from here.
No, not really. We just think PSG is a very good team.
Indeed. And you've had a message from a great man.
I have. The great Adrian Durham, who's out in Switzerland for talkSPORT, obviously covering the Lionesses. And he makes the point about our Raheem Sterling debate about why he left Liverpool 10 years ago. Adrian makes the point Raheem Sterling didn't want to work with Brendan Rodgers anymore. And he also references the Being Liverpool documentary when Brendan singled Raheem Sterling out, and I think you were there as well, and I'm sure Adrian was. We were in Madrid in, I think it was 2014, Real Madrid, when Sterling was left on the bench for such an important game against Real Madrid for Liverpool. I think Steven Gerrard was there, and you could just see the steam coming off the two of them on the bench and not starting against Real Madrid.
And players do reach a certain point where they think it's time to move on.
Yeah, but it's a good point by Adrian.
It certainly is. Now then, many fans will be relate to our next subject. When their club gets into a bit of trouble, the owners play it a bit tricky, say they're selling, then they don't sell, and fans get frustrated. And that's certainly been going on at Morecambe, who were relegated to the National League next season. They were supposedly being sold, then they weren't, then we were told they had a mystery buyer. Who knows who that is? Tanya Ellsworth, of Chair of Shrimps Trust, can clear it all up for us. Morning, Tanya.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on this morning.
Morning, Tony.
So, Tanya, tell us the whole story.
How long have you got?
Try and keep it down to 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's been going on for 3 years, basically. Our owner, Bond Group, who's led by Jason Whittingham, has been trying to sell the club for 3 years. the last 12 months, we've found this buyer, Panjab Warrior, and they've been negotiating and trying to pass the EFL clearance. In June, we were told they passed the EFL clearance, heads of terms were agreed, so we were moving on to a sale. And at the last minute, that hasn't happened. We understand that's a decision been made by the owner. The board of directors then said that they were going to put the club into administration because the club wasn't solvent as it was. That wasn't allowed to happen, so they then resigned. So we're in a position where we have no board, an owner who doesn't seem willing to sell. He's now announced that there's a new buyer who hasn't passed any fit and proper testing, and he told us that we were going to hear from them on Friday. It's now Sunday and we've not heard anything. For all we know, this buyer could be fictitious, and as far as the National League are aware, they're not telling us who this is and what the next steps are for Morecambe.
Of course, for Morecambe fans, you've had the double whammy of being relegated and now wondering if you'll even have a club. It must be very difficult times if you're a Morecambe fan.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and I think the main frustration is it doesn't seem like there's anything anyone can do. We have a very active MP. She's brought this matter up in Parliament this week. The football governance bill was being discussed, and Lisa Nandy referenced Morecambe. However, it seems nobody in any position of power can force this man to sell the club. So we're in a limbo where we're just waiting to see what he decides. And unless the creditors step in and force the club into administration, which isn't a quick process, we just sit and wait while everybody else in the National League is preparing for the season ahead.
Tanya, you've fallen out of the EFL, gone into the National League. Who decides whether this new owner, this potential new owner, and I understand your sort of, your scepticism, particularly with Whittingham's history, who actually decides whether they're fit and proper over? Is it something that's done by the National League, or should the Football Association be stepping in?
So we left the EFL on the 4th of June, and any testing now moves to the National League. So we've been in contact with the Football Association, but they've indicated that it's over to the National League for them to decide. We were given a caseworker who unfortunately went on leave last week, and since then we've not heard from the new person picking that up. I run a business. I understand that people need holidays, but you just feel like you're being passed from pillar to post. So we've got a meeting with the FA early next week, but they indicate it's not for them to step in. It's the National League's decision. And if there is a new buyer, it could take 10 days for them from when they receive everything to approve this new buyer. When we're meant to be kicking off on the 9th of August for the new season, it doesn't look good.
So just on the FA, they are supposedly the custodians of the game. They're the guardians of the game. Shouldn't they be stepping in?
Absolutely. And when we press them, and I've got people, members of my trust, looking at the regulations under the Football Association, it seems that there's not actually any rule or regulation where they can step in at this point unless we understand criminality from the owner has been proven. And this is where the Football Governance Bill and the regulator is so important. But we're just beginning to think it feels too late for clubs like Morecambe and Sheffield Wednesday who are going through this now and who need that regulation now, where we just feel like the last victims.
Just on the players, I mean, if they haven't been paid, presumably under their sort of PFA approved contracts, they can actually leave. Is it after a sort of fortnight?
Yeah, we understand, and I've been in touch with a couple of the players that after 14 days of not being paid, they're within their contractual rights to walk out. They've told me that they're under the advisement of the PFA, so we may see something move on the next couple of days. The trouble is the staff also at the club haven't been paid, so we're not getting updates as and when things like that happen, and as a trust we're almost single-handedly shouldering that burden to try and keep everybody updated as to what is happening, and we're now also under transfer embargo by the National League that was announced on Wednesday.
You referenced Sheffield Wednesday there as well, Tanya, so it's not just a picking on the small club thing here whereby they're ignoring you because Morecambe's not one of our big clubs, because Sheffield Wednesday clearly is. Do you feel we're missing some rules and regs which could work in favour of this. Henry's a big favour of the regulator. Do you think if a regulator was up and running, that would help you?
Yeah, but the key is the regulator that comes in has to have teeth. It has to have the ability to step in and make a decision on these unfit owners. But yeah, absolutely, the FGB and the regulation is what is needed here. It's just how quickly that can come into play, and you just hope it's not too late for clubs like Morecambe and Sheffield Wednesday.
What would they actually do you think, that regulator, to help you?
But for now, in this position, they need to declare that the current owner is retrospectively unfit. So he's obviously passed the fit and proper testing at one point, but now he's no longer meeting those regulations. So it needs to be a retrospective step in. And especially in this position where this new buyer has been cleared by the EFL, that regulator needs to be able to step in and go, look, we've gone through this whole process. You've agreed heads of terms. We've agreed this new party. Just get the deal done, and we can only assume at this moment in time there's greed why that is not happening.
Tanya, just on Punjab Warriors and the Bond Group, presumably at some point down the line some money has actually been paid, whether it's to clear loans. So do the Bond Group owe Punjab Warriors money?
Yes, they do, and we understand that a significant sum has been paid over the last year into the club by Punjab Warriors, but the loan agreements only, I don't know why, but only started from Christmas. But since then, we understand it's a figure of 1.1 million that Punjab have loaned, and there's loan agreements for that. So that seems to be the next step in this story, is that Punjab Warriors are going to try and reclaim that money, and potentially they're going to be the creditor that pushes this situation into an administration application.
When they were actually your potential saviours.
Absolutely, and it must be so frustrating for them, because they're ready, they're willing to buy the club. They've been through all this and they're still willing to buy the club. And we just hope that if administration is the next step, they're almost a pre-packed solution ready to come in and sort that situation out.
So Tanya, what is the next step this week for you?
Yeah, the next step for us, and again, it's really frustrating because it is just putting pressure on all of the parties to communicate with us. We're really keen to understand if this new buyer that Bond Group have announced is fictitious or real, and we're really keen to understand from the regulatory bodies what, if anything, they are going to do about this. So another week on the phone and the emails trying to get some answers for Morecambe fans and to try and put pressure in the right places. And we thank people like yourselves in the media for giving us this platform, because we do feel that this pressure really does put Bond Group under some scrutiny, and hopefully will push them to make some quicker decisions.
Tanya Ellsworth, Chair of Shrimps Trust, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tanya.
Certainly put her case across very eloquently, did Tanya. I'd like her behind me if she was backing my supporters association.
Yeah, I would like to hear her and see her in a room with Jason Whittingham and try and get some answers from him, because the club really doesn't belong to him, it belongs to the fans. And I don't understand his motives. I really don't. Whether it's, we saw what Worcester Warriors went through when he was there. So look, I mean, it's just frustrating. I know you have your concerns about the regulator, and I'm not a huge fan of regulator in normal life, but clubs need protecting.
This is where I'll be on your side on the regulator, that one particularly. Yeah, I can see where it comes in.
Good.
Up next, we're looking at the Lionesses against Wales.
He plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
It's day 4 of the third test between England versus India. Time for an update with Sam Ellard.
England 14 without loss, leading by 14 runs. Crawley's got 2, Duck has got 8. A couple of opportunities, though, for India early this morning on day 4. Final ball of the third over. Bumrah bowling to Crawley. A ball back of the length. Big, extreme, extra bounce, though. Caught Crawley by surprise. Nothing he could really do about it, though. Ball came off of his glove, went in the air, offering Bumrah a chance for a catch. He did everything he could to try and get to it. Diving, just dropped it. And then final ball of the previous over. Siraj bowling to Crawley. A full ball angling into the right-hander. Crawley looking to work it to the leg side, hit him on the peg. Big appeals for LBW, given not out on field. Siraj liked it, he wanted a review, he got a review. Replay showed the ball was missing. So India have started well here this morning, searching though for that breakthrough on day 4 in the morning session. Crawley's got 2, Duck has got 8. England 14 without loss and are leading by 14 runs.
Thank you, Sam. Time to talk Women's Euros now, with England taking on Wales in their final group game tonight. England dispatched the Netherlands 4-0 on Wednesday, and a win today will see them through. And to all intents and purposes, Wales are out. Delighted to say we're joined by Jordan Nobbs, former Lioness midfielder, to tell us England's chances not only of going through, but winning the tournament. Morning, Jordan.
Morning.
Hi, Jordan. Jordan,
hi.
What have you made of the Lionesses so far? Obviously, they got off to that sticky start against France, then were magnificent during the week. So, a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde performance so far.
Yeah, it's a bit like a blessing in disguise. I think when you get a bit of a wake-up call against a very good French team, I think they came out with a lot of surprises that we didn't expect, and then, you know, as we always do, the Lionesses showed up against the Netherlands, and I mean, they put in a top performance, which I think shows that why they've been the winners of the Euros before.
I know we always say there's no easy games at this level, but England will be expected to beat Wales today, won't they?
Yeah, I think once they get one goal, I do think it could be 3 or 4-0 if they perform the same way they did against the Netherlands. Obviously, Wales, they'll definitely put up a fight. You know, we've seen them score their first goal in a Euro, so that'll definitely give them some confidence. But after the other day, I don't see the Lionesses dropping their standards.
John, amongst your 71 caps, you played and scored against Wales in 2013 at the Den, a 2-0 win. Did you find in that game, and I assume it will be the same tonight, that the Welsh are particularly fired up to play against England?
Yeah, it's always been a game that everyone loves to have. I think for the fans especially, it's a great occasion. And I remember when we played Wales away, they even made the pitch as small as they possibly could. To make it difficult for us to pass the ball. So I think it shows their mentality on, you know, they'll try and do anything to win. And, you know, I think that's why they've got to a major tournament. You know, you don't just get there by chance, you get there by the fight and grit that they've always done.
I referenced this last week. I watched the documentary about the Wales women's team and their rise and how they ended up qualifying. Am I right in thinking they got a 0-0 draw with England somewhere along the line?
Oh,
2018.
I'm not sure.
Was it back in 2018? Was it? So they can fight it out and grit it out if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, you saw they obviously had to beat Ireland to in a big pressure game, which they kind of comfortably got the results. So yeah, you still can't underestimate these teams. We've seen surprises in tournaments, and I think that's one thing about the Lionesses maybe having that result against France. I think they know that they can't drop their standards, and that'll be the main thing. You know, get all the basics right. You know, press together, keep the ball, and not, you know, obviously they want to get some goals.
The front six looked better in the second game. Do you see that pretty much staying the same?
I would think it would stay the same. I think they obviously brought in Ella Toone and pushed Lauren James out to the right. And I think Ella, she's just in that more natural midfield role. And I think she's got the legs to get around the pitch. And it just allows Lauren James that free role to come inside and shoot, whether it's left foot, right foot. But I thought our wingers, I thought Lauren Hemp and Lauren James were stars of the show. And I think the main thing for everyone watching was the team performance. I think that's the main thing. You can always have the superstars that get the goals for you and create chances, but in a major tournament you need the whole team to be performing at a high level. Yeah, you saw her obviously come out in the media and say that it was a bad day at the office, and I think sometimes it's good just to recognise that, and then the girls made sure that they just wanted to go out and show what they could do on the pitch. I think with Georgia, she's obviously been injured for a long time leading up to that tournament, but she's a experienced player that Serena would want on the pitch. So hopefully she's back in her rhythm now with that extra game, and she can show her qualities and get some goals as well with a long range striking.
Yeah, Ella Toone and Alessia Russo are obviously good friends off the pitch. Does that help on the pitch, that connection?
I mean, you always want your team to get along, and they're obviously really good friends, and they've played together for a long time at Man United. So I think when you know that the way they play and the way they move, it's always helpful, isn't it? I think when you have that repetition of playing together, it's key in combination play and movement in the box.
I tried this one with Faye White last week, so I'll try it with you, Jordan, if I can. I'm puzzled by Chloe Kelly is one of those players who everybody knows in this country for women's football, yet isn't a regular starter. You've played with her. Can you explain why she doesn't start?
No, I mean, obviously, scoring in the Euros final, that gave her the name that she deserves, coming on and scoring a goal like that. But it's really tough. When Chloe went to Arsenal, she was starting more than Beth Mead. But with the Lionesses, Beth Mead obviously got the shirt in that first game. So, yeah, I think she'll still be a player that'll you'll want her to keep her head, because if she comes on as a super sub, she needs to get them goals and show why she could be starting. But I guess it shows the competition in the Lionesses. You've dropped Beth Mead and then you've put Lauren James there. So it's a tough one for Chloe, and hopefully she can still make an impact coming off the bench.
Now, should England get through this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's going to be either Sweden or Spain, I think, in the next round. Either test is going to be very, very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, there's definitely one side of the group that looks a lot harder than the others. Naturally, in a tournament, you have to face who you get. But I think one side of the group could be, depending on the results, like France, Germany, Spain, and the other side is Sweden, Norway. So, yeah, I think if you're looking at what side of the group you'd go on, you'd want to be playing against Sweden next. But like everyone's always said in a major tournament, you can't plan your route, and you just have to face what game you get next.
Have Spain been the team that's most impressed you so far?
100%. I think they're always a team that never change. They don't change their standards, their way of playing. But honestly, when you play them, it is so hard, because you think, I can just press that ball, but their first touch is take it away from the player, and they just surround bodies around you, so they keep that possession. And I think some of the goals they've scored this tournament, the combination play, like in the 18-yard box, has just been unstoppable. So I think it would take a big team to knock them out the tournament.
Is this Euro so far exciting you? I mean, does it stand comparison with, say, the last one when England won?
I would think so. I think there's always surprises. I mean, I was excited for the Sweden-Germany game, and then obviously there was a player sent off, so the game kind of died out. But yeah, I think it always gets that little bit more exciting when it's knockout games, doesn't it? I think once it gets to that quarterfinals, the games you see everyone pushing, and it's a must-win game.
But just watching on the television, John, for sort of punters like me, the atmospheres seem really good. I mean, the whole tournament seems to be properly embraced, but obviously by the travelling fans, but the locals as well.
Yeah, sometimes you think that when I say the lesser teams, it's no disrespect to them, but even their stadiums have been full. And I know there's a few of the other WSL players that are going around town and around the fan zones, and they just said it's incredible. They said the fans that are out there, walking down the street, it's just been a really football family vibe wherever you go. So it's amazing to see. I think it's never easy for fans to travel, and it just shows where the women's game's going now. We had a home Euros, which naturally is great for the English, but they've also travelled all the way to Switzerland to show their support.
Jordan Nobbs, former Lioness midfielder, enjoy the game tonight. Thank you. And we'll be cheering on. Well, we'll have cheer on England, but hey, good luck to Wales as well.
Yeah, you being a very diplomatic sort of British sports editor.
Absolutely,
I'll be cheering
I think
on
we
the
know
Lionesses.
Wales are.
Are you going to be watching Chelsea PSG or
Chelsea PSG for me? I'm afraid, Henry. You
split screen?
Oh, come off it! Can you do split screen at your house?
Yeah,
can you do that?
Yeah, just have another telly.
Oh, just another telly. I thought you had some super contraption that split screen. Anyway, this is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Transfers or lack of them coming up next. needling the cricket goes on. Great stuff. This is Sunday Edition here on talkSPORT, and right now you can download the latest podcast from talkSPORT's After the Lights Go Out series. This one features former Newcastle and Sunderland striker Michael Chopra. The dominant theme of the interview is his battle with a chronic gambling addiction, which led him into serious debt. Here he tells Liam Mackenzie and Steve Harmison about a particular low point when gangsters showed up at the Ipswich Town training ground demanding money.
Morning team would come to the training ground, so when I'm training, I'm looking about. I can't focus, do you know what I mean? There was a guy standing there pretending to get an autograph, and he was telling me, listen, you better get in the club and sort that money out now. Yet in the training ground car park, there was a car full of people that were waiting, do you know what I mean, sort of thing. So I used to go to bed at night. I used to have like chairs pushed up against the door so nobody could get in. If people did get in, then I was sleeping, had like kitchen knives by the side of my bed and that sort of thing. It was talking about my worst experiences and hitting rock bottom. That was probably it.
And a reminder that the full After the Lights Go Out interview with Michael Chopra is available now from your favourite podcast provider, along with all the other podcasts from the series, which include those featuring Carl Frampton, James Haskell and Marcus Stewart. Coming up at midday, it'll be Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning. Max is here to tell us what's going on in the show. Morning, Max.
Yeah, morning, gents. Hope
Morning,
you're doing
Max.
okay. I'm still slightly annoyed with Ben Duckett for thinning that one to mid-on. I was just, when you just think, and that's the thing about baseball, isn't it? You love them hitting it until they get out, and then you think, can't you just be like Bill Athey? Anyway, we're on for...
Bill Athey, Chris Tavares, I would offer you.
Yes, there you go, a bit of Tavares. We're on for 3 hours, which is grave disappointment for us and the listeners as well, I believe. I didn't know anyone broadcast after 2 p.m. on a Sunday, but Barry Glendenning and I will manfully get through 3 hours. A long time, isn't it, for anybody to sit in a chair and talk? But, we are the real heroes here, and we will, of course, there's so much going on, isn't there? So we'll do the Women's Euros, of course, we'll do the Club World Cup final, we'll do how tedious... I feel like Nottingham Forest just taking someone to court every day, so we'll do the transfer stuff, including Gibbs White and all that, plus the usual games, hopefully have a nice time, and then at 3 o'clock we can go to bed.
Can I put you just to a quick test? Are you watching Women's Euros or listening? Women's Euros or Chelsea in the Club World Cup? Henry's chickened out, claims he's got a split screen.
Oh, I am not a Club World Cup guy. I've got to say, everything about Infantino makes me deep. Him coming out and saying, this is statistically the greatest tournament of all time, or whatever he said. So, I in principle, I like the idea of a Club World Cup. But between you and me, I am in Australia. And so I will hopefully be sleeping through both, and then I'll get up in the morning and lazily watch them both in full duration in my own time in a cafe, if the children allow me.
Max, you and Shaun mentioned Chris Tavares, one for the kids that. Do you remember when a fan came out of the crowd and gave him a chair because everyone was sort of slightly bored? And more importantly, do you know who that fan was?
I don't. What year was this?
I can't remember, but the fan became a very distinguished broadcaster who you'll know well. It was Stato.
Was it Angus Lachlan?
Angus Lachlan, a cricket fan. He was so outraged. He didn't have the dressing gown on from fantasy football, but he obviously didn't think it was fantasy cricket, and he went on to complain in inimitable Stato style.
A stat you didn't know you needed to know. Max Rushton, Barry Glendenning on a midday after us. Thanks, Max. On to transfers, Henry. After that diversion, Chris Tavares and Stato, would have thought we'd be bringing that up. Max briefly mentioned Nottingham Forest, Gibbs White, Spurs, the whole thing leaving an unsavoury taste in the mouth.
I mean, I would love to see Marinakis against Daniel Levy, a sort of a debate, maybe some blue collar wrestling. I mean, it is extraordinary, and maybe Marinakis feels that Morgan Gibbs White is not showing him sufficient respect. Look, I think we all know how this pans out. That Gibbs White does go to Tottenham, and it'd be interesting to see where James Maddison then plays. Gibbs White is a really good player, and maybe just to sort of stir it a little bit more, there's Thomas Tuchel, who's almost almost he clearly wants his players to be playing at elite levels at their club, and maybe some of the players are looking at, Forest obviously not having slipped up and not got into the Champions League. Maybe one or two England hopefuls wanting to go to the World Cup feel they should be playing in the Champions League.
Can you really sue anybody for saying there's a release clause? I mean, honestly, otherwise what's the point of putting in a release clause if nobody can know it?
Maybe it's a negotiating element, and it's just about getting more money out of Tottenham Hotspur.
But how can you get more money? If the release clause is 60 million, that's the release clause.
Yeah,
how are you going to get more money?
It's a good point. Maybe they feel that just to sort of keep this, just actually sort of smooth this over between the clubs, if Tottenham pay a little bit more. I don't know. I just the power is with the player, unless he signs a new contract at Nottingham Forest and they do some deal with him and they say, listen, have a fantastic season with us and then go after the World Cup. I really don't know, but Tottenham obviously have been given some indication somehow that Morgan Gibbs-White wants to move. Good new manager at Tottenham Hotspur. I do feel a little bit for Maddison.
I know, I'm wondering how he fits in here, especially Custis obviously playing alongside Gibbs-White, you would think. I don't know where Maddison goes.
Another club? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's, when he is fit, I think he brings just a little bit of an X factor to Tottenham. And when you've got a striker like Dominic Solanke, whether he's being used as a run-through striker or with his back to goal, you need a good number 10 delivering the ball to him. Look, I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White, we've seen him play slightly deeper, almost as an 8 for Forest. But I think he's best as a 10, and he is a good player. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. But you imagine the direction of travel is down the M1, yeah.
Now, your old argument is always that Nottingham Forest are a very big club, and therefore why would you leave Nottingham Forest to go to Spurs? But most people would consider probably that Spurs is the bigger club.
Yeah, so how do you define...
I hesitate to say that.
How do you define
Forest are European Cup winners?
Yeah, twice. Yeah. I mean, when you go in there and you see this two stars and you see the two replicas, absolutely. And Nuno is a good manager. They've lost Anthony Alanga, so that is a
fine signing. That one,
a fine signing, but. I mean, they still have Elliot Anderson. You know what an admirer I am of Elliot Anderson, who seems to grow. He has slight sort of dip towards the end of the season with Forest, but he was outstanding for the under-21s. He has to be in the next England squad in September. So, look, they've still got Milenkovic, they've got Maria, they've got Sels, they've got good players there. Olaena has signed a new contract. Nuno has extended his contract. What a good... and this City Ground is still a fantastic place to go. They're still in Europe, albeit not in the competition that they wanted to be. So, yeah, it's an interesting debate. How do you define a big club? I know you don't like history, a bit of a theme of the day. Whether it is fan base, whether it is size of, whether it's ambition, whether it's wealth. There's a lot going for Nottingham Forest at the moment. But the flip side of that is that Thomas Frank going in at Tottenham Hotspur, probably the best stadium in Europe, along with the Bernabeu. Champions League, amazing training ground, new chief executive. So in Vinay Venkatesham. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot going for Tottenham at the moment.
Back page of the Sunday People this morning talks about Gyökeres missing the Sporting Lisbon flight to training camp in a bid to engineer his dream move to Arsenal. Now, I remember back in 2002, Rio Ferdinand did the same thing to Leeds United. He wanted to get to Manchester United, and Leeds said, you've got to be on a plane to China, I think. They were going on a pre-season tour. And he said, I'm not going. I want to join Manchester United. And, of course, he got his way.
Do you agree with that tactic?
I think when it becomes obvious that this is going to happen, and I know Ridsdale battled out for the maximum, sometimes players have to do that sort of thing in order to get what they want. Do I agree with the tactic? Look,
it's life.
It is life, isn't it? I mean, all right, do you blame Gyökeres for doing this?
Well, we've done it in our careers, so I don't think I can sort of begrudge. I mean, there was obviously the
extra... We'll stick with football.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to hear that story.
It's a long one. Yeah, in terms of that move, I mean, it was after the 2002 World Cup where he actually had a good...
Yeah.
He had a good, very good. He and Sol Campbell were outstanding for England. But obviously there was an extra element there in that he was going from Leeds to Manchester United. which is has
history.
Has a bit of history. Has it? Your favourite word?
Indeed, it does. So I think Arsenal will get their man in the end. Just one thing, finally. Your mate Henderson signing for Brentford. Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, I've been
is that going to help
critical of
his
him over
England
the last 2 years in terms of his decisions to move to go to Saudi. It obviously didn't completely work out at Ajax. I find it absolutely baffling that he's even in the conversation around England.
But will going to Brentford help the situation? Because he's probably going to play all the time, but...
Yeah, he's no Christian Norgard. It's obviously a slightly different position. But yeah, Tuchel likes him. And whenever we asked Tuchel about it, he said, well, it's because he sets the standards. I think that's a little bit unfair on the other England players who are quite capable of setting their own standards. They're in the England squad because they've got a drive to their career. They're playing for, most of them are playing for sort of top clubs, top managers. So they've got that standard setting inbuilt into them. Jordan Henderson, I mean...
Will he be good for Brentford? Put it that way.
Yeah, I think he will be.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's a good signing for them.
Do you like him?
I think he'll do well. He'll be a good signing for them because I think that sort of experience.
He's noisy, he's a captain, he's a leader, but I wouldn't have him in the English squad.
They're losing some very good players, and they'll need him because it's probably going to be a tough season for them.
They recruit well.
They do, very, very well. You're listening to Sunday Edition. It's tennis to finish and a mouth-watering men's final. It's day 4 of the third test between England and India. Sam Ellard with an update.
Brilliant contest here in the morning session. England 36 for 1. The wicket to fall was Ben Duckett for 12. Siraj the bowler. Duckett looking to pull Siraj. All he could do is pick out the fielder Bumrah at mid-on. Crawley's got 15. Pope's got 4. Both batters, though, still fortunate to be at the crease. Crawley trying an outlandish drive off a full ball from Bumrah. Took a thick inside edge. Somehow missed the stumps and went to the boundary for 4. Then at the other end, Siraj to Pope. A really good ball. Then it back in. Again, Pope looking to drive the ball. Missed his bat and somehow went over the stump. Siraj and Bumrah bang on the money here this morning, searching for that second wicket. Crawley's got 15, Pope's got 4. England 36 for 1 in the third innings, and they're leading by exactly 36 runs.
Sam, before you disappear, how much of there is the needle still there?
The needle is very much there. We saw what happened last night where there was lots of conversations between the Indian fielders and the batsmen, and then when Siraj dismissed Ben Duckett, he went over and celebrated right in his face, a roar in his face. There was a little shoulder barge. I'm somebody that says, Henry, I absolutely love that. We've got great cricket on display. I like when there's needle. I think it adds to the excitement. I think it adds to the, you know, the contest, really. Some people maybe go the other way and say he maybe overstepped the mark there. You're not really supposed to get that close to a batter, but you know, England will give it when they're out in the field. There's needle, and it just makes for a brilliant contest, Henry.
Well, given the weather, Sam, you don't need the temperature raised anymore. I mean, I think it's I agree with you. I think there's an entertainment value, but is a shoulder barge going a little bit too far?
Yeah, look, again, I say shoulder barge. Maybe their shoulders came together. Maybe, I don't want to, you know, I'm not sure if you saw it, but it wasn't like he leaned into him. Maybe sort of brushed past him. And look, sure, listen, we don't want anything to get too silly here, anything to go over, but listen, the series is bubbling nicely. You know, the drama last night was fantastic. There's a little bit of needle out there this morning, a little bit of chat. I just think it adds to the excitement of what's been a brilliant series. And I've got to say, by the way, I think Bumrah and Siraj have bowled beautifully here this morning. And as I say that, Bumrah once again beats the outside edge of Zach Crawley's bat. And after, you know, 2 innings, England score 387, India score 387. England this morning 36 for 1. I think we could be in at some point tomorrow, gents, for a cracking finish here at Lord's.
Great stuff. Thank you, Sam. More needle, please. Big day in the tennis today. Fantastic men's final. Carlos Alcaraz against Yannick Sinner, which will hopefully be a lot better than Iga Swiatek versus Anisimova yesterday. Double bagel. We are joined by tennis commentating royalty, Jonathan Overend. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning, Shaun. Morning, Henry. How are we?
Jonathan. Great to hear from you. We have bumped into Jonathan on the football circuit from time to time because Henry always likes to bring a little bit of football into it, Jonathan. But of course, you are most revered as a tennis expert. Please start with yesterday because that was behind the sofa, put your head in your hands sort of stuff, wasn't it? And Swiatek probably didn't get the credit she deserved because we were concentrating on the fact it was 6-love, and Anisimova's feelings.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it's so hard to analyse, isn't it? Because when a world-class player is playing at that level, if any of us or any club player or any county player took the court, they would be losing 6-love. If most professional players took the court to play Swiatek at that level, they would also be struggling to win a game. So that was the level that she was playing at. Absolutely, she deserved to win the title. And, it's an incredible achievement now to win her first 6 Grand Slam finals. And she's got 6 to her name now on all 3 surfaces. But you cannot escape the fact that Amanda Anisimova absolutely froze. And I could see it in her eyes in the first couple of games. She lost her opening service game, never ideal, particularly after winning the toss and choosing to serve first. You're wanting to make a statement. You're the underdog. You want to start strongly. But once you go behind against Swiatek, it's so hard to recover. And then when she lost her serve for the second time, you could see the panic set in. And, I turned to those who I was watching the match with and said, she's in big trouble now. Because when the panic sets in, and it's best of 3 sets, guys, that's the real problem. Because time just runs away from you, as it did in that set. And when she went 3-love down first set, I started to think this genuinely could be 6-love, and so it proved.
Swiatek's been working on her serve, is that right, under her new coach?
Yep.
And obviously it's worked, hasn't it?
Yeah, Wim Fissette is the coach, and he'd won Wimbledon before, having advised Angelique Kerber, the German player, but he's got a lot of good players on his coaching CV. And I think it's really encouraging to see a player of the status of Swiatek turn to somebody new to say, look, I'm number 1 player in the world, number 2 as she has been for the last 12 months or so, and say, I need to get better. And then, that's a scary prospect. But she'd so desperately wanted to win Wimbledon. I mean, she'd done nothing really at Wimbledon other than win the junior tournament. Only once previously had she been to the second week, let alone get as close to lifting the trophy as she did yesterday. So, I can see her getting back to world number 1. She looks to me like she's playing with a lot more freedom. I've always at times thought she looks really stressed out there on the court, Swiatek, and playing well, winning matches, but just looking really uptight. Yesterday and throughout the tournament, she just had a smile on her face more often, looked a little free, carried her head a bit higher, previously she's always sort of like looking down at the court, hiding behind that baseball cap. So I think that's a scary proposition for the rest of the world if you see Swiatek playing at the level she can play at, but with that extra freedom and enjoyment, because that will mean she'll only get better in the future.
Yeah, but sadly, as a spectacle, a bit of a disaster yesterday. However, Alcaraz v Sinner, I think we can almost guarantee it'll be a classic.
Let's hope so. I mean, obviously, Sinner had this arm problem earlier in the tournament. I mean, he should have gone out in that match against Grigor Dimitrov. Dimitrov was playing unbelievable tennis, 2 sets up on Sinner, and then the Bulgarian's shoulder goes, and Sinner gets a reprieve. And he felt like he didn't really deserve to win that match and make the semi-finals, but he did. He then rebounded and played a brilliant semi-final, not allowing Djokovic really a chance. So he comes in as the world number one, as the winner in Australia and at the US Open last year. But then his opponent is now this incredible rival, Alcaraz. He's going for 3 in a row at Wimbledon and back-to-back Grand Slams, having won the French Open, where, of course, he beat Sinner. So this is successive Grand Slam finals featuring these two. One of them, guys, has played in the last 6 Grand Slam, has won the last 6 Grand Slam finals. You have to go back to Djokovic winning the US Open of 2023 for the last time anybody else won a major title. That's rare. It really is. And it's a demonstration now of how far ahead of the rest of the world these two guys are.
Jonathan, the sport needs great rivalries. I mean, we've seen it going back to the 70s and obviously more recently with Federer and Nadal and Djokovic and Murray. But the sport really does need these two to sort of extend this rivalry.
Yeah, it does. And I think, Henry, it's going to get it. It's going to get it, absolutely. You look at the 3rd best player in the world at the moment, who's a guy from Germany, Alexander Zverev, who has been in a few Grand Slam finals, but frankly has never come close to winning one. And I don't think he will win one now, because these guys are so much above Zverev as the world number 3 in terms of mentality, big-time experience now, and the play. And they're very different players as well, different characters. Fire and ice, I suppose, in a way, would be one way of describing it. A little bit of the McEnroe-Borg there, with Alcaraz always demonstrating his personality. Sinner playing it very, very cool and calm. Sinner's got the big shots from the back of the court. Alcaraz has got more variety. We've seen him serve and volleying quite a lot during this Wimbledon, particularly when he's 40-15 up in a game. He'll chuck in the serve and volley, and that's demoralising for the opponent when he puts that game away like that. So I think the clash of styles on the grass is going to be absolutely fascinating today. It could go long. It won't go as long as the French Open final of just 7 weeks ago, because that was 5.5 hours, one of the greatest Grand Slam finals of all time. And if today gets anywhere near that, it will also be a brilliant match.
How do you feel about the fact Sinner was banned for a doping violation, as indeed was Swiatek in the past? Does it make it slightly uncomfortable for you?
Do you know what, Shaun? It was such a complex case. There was so much detail, both to the evidence that was put forward by the Sinner camp and indeed to the verdict and the eventual settlement through WADA. It's so much more complex than just saying, oh, he should be banned, or he didn't mean it. Clearly mistakes were made. People paid the penalty for those mistakes, i.e. the people who supplied the cream that he received the massage from, his physio and his fitness trainer. They were sacked on the spot. I suppose the big question is, should he, as the athlete, as the employer, have to bear the ultimate responsibility? Well, he received a ban, and that will forever be on his record. The fact that he didn't miss a Grand Slam tournament in that time is incredibly convenient.
Okay, Jonathan.
And very, very fortunate.
You've got about 10 seconds. Alcaraz or Sinner to win today?
I think Alcaraz gets it today in 5 sets, another long one.
Certainly. I think it'll be brilliant. Thank you very much, Jonathan Overend. Hopefully we'll talk to you again. Sinner or Alcaraz, Henry?
Alcaraz, I hope. And what are you going to do if it stretches into 5 hours and your Club World Cup?
Miss the kickoff. No, we'll see the tennis through to the end, and then we'll switch channels.
You're going to need 3 screens.
Obviously. Anyway, that's it from us. We'll be back next week. Up next, it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning.